written by a single person, correct? Who's? Dr.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, Dr. So can you give a simple, brief explanation on
control migration? so, so I'm from UTM, so I'm studying water, and then we have Puan Suzana from is a arborist from a landscape consultant, and we also have Puan Nazira from an educator who's also from NGO. So our perspective will be based on these three focus areas. So basically, okay, let me start with the worst case scenario first. Okay, if you say that a picture can tell 1,000 words, so this picture, this emoji, actually tells 1,000 problems that can happen in a worst case scenario. So one of the things that we think will happen is social havoc. There'll be riots. People will be unruly because of a lot of things that are not being put in place properly. And then, in terms of regressive labor market dynamics and wages, we think that there may be because of the low pay among educators not corresponding to workload, it will become a domino effect, and there will be people opting for gig work, and then low social protection, and then it will give brain drain. Like in Johor itself, we have a lot of people going to Singapore because of the higher pay over there, and then because of this also there will be low motivation and students are not interested in education, whereby it will become a huge barrier to the country and society to produce high-value workers, which in turn will give a circular impact, lack of technological advancements and improvements, and then economic regression and no opportunities for no new market opportunities, which will bring to economic regression. So it's a domino and then circular impact all over. And then, when it comes to water, there's an issue on. There will be an issue on water governance, because right now, even now, we are seeing the problem of lack of consistency. There's a fragmented governance. There's a lot of agencies doing their own thing in silo. So we don't see implementation. We have a lot of papers, we have a lot of documents, but we don't see implementation. But if this continues, so it will impact from top level to the bottom level. It will impact the whole, everyone. Okay, and then we are also seeing that we are beginning to see the water scarcity impacts in Johor itself, whereby in Johor Bahru right now, actually, some developments are being halted because we are not reaching the optimum level of the treated water reserve margin. So this is an impending problem. And in terms of property as well, because of the uncontrolled migration and urbanization, we have high property costs in JB, because right now Singaporeans can buy houses in Johor. So that will also bring more vulnerability to the society because there's no affordability, so that's a problem. Also high mortality rate because of health issues, and because of these health issues also a lot of people, there may be required a more improvement in the healthcare system, and then a lot more people will not be cannot access to the healthcare because of too many people, too many patients, and also maybe cannot afford the health payment. And another issue that is related to health is the antimicrobial resistance that may be even worse if climate change happens, because right now we are seeing that there's an increase in the antimicrobial resistance, whereby these antibiotics are being thrown in the waterways. So this is an issue, and we are in Malaysia actually paying more to pollute then we are willing to pay for clean water, because our tariff right now is very, very low for water and also sewerage. For water-related disasters, there'll be a lot of floods, there'll be a lot of droughts, so there'll be scarce resources, and the infrastructure will not be resilient enough to cater to any of these future problems. And in terms of school, maybe people will not be able to accept the change. A lot of things are not being educated in schools, so not a lot of awareness. And this unawareness also may cause some to actually do vandalism or destroy school properties. Okay, and then just a short one. In terms of shop changes, how do we want to achieve this equilibrium? So maybe what we can do is we can increase in tariff, but unfortunately, this increase in tariff, although it may bring benefits in terms of improvements in infrastructure and all that, the high tariff may be a problem for the B40 communities. So in the future, people may not be able to afford clean water. And then with the climate change, there'll also be a possibility that school children will not be able to come to school anymore. And there will be a lot of diseases, and maybe in the future there will be more climate disasters, so there will be a lot more help and support needed. So in terms of NGOs, maybe there will be a lot more NGOs in the future. So a lot of people will be affected by it. And then if we want to improve our legal system or regulations, there might be protests or unwilling compliance by the people. So these are our findings from our group. Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Okay, no worries. So
left, my right, your left is actually the ideal side. This side, my left, your right is actually the what we call shock transition state. If you notice, a lot more input over here, and over here probably because the ideal state is much desirable. So probably this is where we want to highlight. So in terms of what is desirable, there's a number of things that will play around. We look at a Malaysia that is in 2050, have good governance, good policy implementation, desired policies being laid out. There's happy people around, happy society is mentioned here. Everyone can enter and exit workforce. The cake is bigger. There's more flexibility in working. Imagine public sector where you can enter and exit different departments, different ministries. Imagine Malaysia in 2050 where there's WEF credit, referring to everyone here have your own allocation in terms of how much water you use, how much electricity you use, how much solid waste you use. Malaysians, for example, is one of the 10 top countries in ASEAN alone using water, highest. So if you exceed that particular credit system, you need to pay more. If you reduce, if you use less than the allocated credit, it can be channeled to probably a subsidy where you can use for other purposes. There's coordination in policy. Currently, there's no concentrated effort in terms of looking at water, electricity, and food security as interconnected policy. So probably something that can be done here. And then in terms of migration, yes, we acknowledge there's unplanned migration happening just now. However, it can be a good, it can be looked at in terms of imagine Johor, where you work in Kluang, you live in Kluang but you work in Johor Bahru. Intercity public transportation is really good. Okay, we understand what kind of risk that we need to mitigate in the community itself in order to support, for example, vulnerable communities. Group 1 mentioned a lot of communities just now. The elderly, children. This group mentioned teachers. Our group has a gender approach, so probably in 2050, the future is female. Probably something that we can play around with that particular team. Because even what I learned from coaching, the next destination of Mike's workshop, is that it is actually the women folk in the indigenous community that understand weather patterns, that understand how things work, and then advise the men folk to, this is the time for you to go down and catch fish. This is the time for you to go down and manage your paddy field, for example. So probably the future is women. So in terms of society protection, imagine in 2050, when you are born, the moment our child is born, the baby will be protected, given healthcare services. The mother will be protected probably within the first 2 years of delivery. By 12 years old, you get your IC on top of, my card, on top of certain cash for you to move on to secondary sector. By 21 years old, you get something else until the day you die. Your family gets a certain benefit to help the waris to survive. So cradle to grave social protection system. Otherwise, this is to be highlighted. SMEs, over 95% of them are generating Malaysia's economy. Imagine they understand what ESG means, what it means for them to report and to act in a very sustainable manner. Imagine the possibilities in terms of their market access to Europe, the compliance to all the reporting that is required under ESG. So job opportunities of course increase. So that is the ideal case. When we go to where am I on time? Where am I on time? Okay, good. Done.
All good. It's still on time, sorry.
Alright. So in terms of the short transition, this is on assumption that business as usual is happening. So if it is business as usual, meaning we have limited resources, we might be in a condition where there's rationalization happen. Imagine water, electricity, waste that you produce. Everyone has a set number. If you exceed that number, you need to pay a penalty. Probably that's what we need to do if, in the instance of we don't have enough water. The policies especially is in reactive mode. Reactive mode meaning something happened, something bad happened, then you allocate money, you allocate resources, you allocate a direction. It will affect your planning, your long-term planning. Imagine we have Rancangan Malaysia ke-13, 14 and so on by that time. If flood keeps on happening, if tanah runtuh keeps on happening, imagine the resources that we need to divert on top of attention that we need to allocate. We might need to increase retirement age up to 65, up to 70. It might be a good thing. Everyone can work until like 65, 70. But for the youngsters, they might not be able to move up the career ladder. For companies, compensation and benefit related costs have to be increased in order to manage the increasing cost of healthcare, insurance, and so on. We might be looking at affected labor productivity. Imagine suddenly the government says we do not want foreign labor to come into the country. We might experience shortage of workers in certain sectors. Services will be a bit more expensive. Productivity will drop, etc., etc. Healthcare wise, early on, Dr. Tan mentioned something about fertility rate dropping. If we do not manage it via necessary services, we have a representative from LVPKN at our table. If we do not manage our fertility rate, we might not have sufficient population to support the workforce that we needed. And then we might have to charge climate tax. climate tax referring to everyone, imagine everyone paying extra 100 ringgit to 200 ringgit on top of the tax that you pay. This tax will go to a fund. Every time a climate disaster happens, the fund will be channeled for relief efforts, for recovery efforts. I don't think we want that particular environment, but it might happen. Wait, am I on time?
A little bit more.
A little bit more. Okay. One table just now mentioned something about disruption in school system. It might be a good thing because then we might need to think about, for example, is it possible for us to make learning flexible? Whenever, if another COVID happens, touching any wood that we have at the moment, 1 year of school closure, meaning the students can still learn. They do not have to rely on school structure, but when they hit the right year for exam, for example PT6 or PT penilaian tingkatan 3, they can just go to and take the exam, a flexible structure. Okay, then we might, okay, this one, final point, is every country currently is heading into a green economy country. So if we do not follow, we might get left behind. I think that is the most compelling evidence why we need this kind of report. Thank you.
Thank you very much.